For more on President Trump's plan to roll back Wall Street regulations, we're joined now by Steve Pruitt. He's managing partner of the Watts Partners Consulting Group. He's also former staff director of the Committee on the Budget of the U.S. House of Representatives. Welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Susan.
So we heard Mr. Trump say today that this was affecting many of his friends. He said this,
Sure.
that they, in fact, could not get loans. Does he have a point? Was this the right thing to do?
Well, I think our experience so far suggests that, yes, certain segments of the consumer and other groups have not been able to access credit because of now all the regulation that is in place. And there are certainly tweaks that need to be made to the law to make it more consumer friendly, because right now a lot of the restrictions that are in place still put consumers through exercises that they don't anticipate and hadn't anticipated when they were saved by the passage of this law originally.
Presidents often review what has been in place for a long time. We saw President Obama, former President Obama, do this with the policy on Cuba.
Yes.
Was this the right thing to do, in your opinion, for President Trump to look at this? He's talked about NAFTA as well. He's reviewing old policies.
Well, yes, I think it's fair to review. I mean, there are some folks in the community who've been asking for a review for years now. There's no such thing as a perfect law.
Right.
And once it's been on the books for a number of years, the normal practice has been to, within a 5-year or so period, to go back, take a look, come up with changes that make it more effective, more efficient. We haven't seen that here in America because of the gridlock and the partisanship that we've been playing with. And it's still going to be interesting to see if we see it now, because just issuing an executive order to start a process gets you a great headline, but it doesn't get the actual changes in the law implemented.
We saw President Trump hold Boeing CEO's feet to the fire over the price of Air Force One, and he immediately hopped on a plane, came down, had a meeting with President Trump, and has begun renegotiating the price there. Now the president met with a group of other CEOs today. What do you think the mood of that meeting was like, and what's the takeaway?
Well, I think the mood was certainly receptive. There are very few CEOs who don't want to be in that Roosevelt room with a president of the United States. That's good for business generally, and it gives you an opportunity up front to talk to the highest person in the government about your concerns about a particular policy. That being said, a lot of these meetings that we're seeing, a lot of these folks are just props, if you will, for the media show that we're seeing right now. You know, there haven't been any votes in Congress on any of these policies. Very few, if any, of these executive orders actually can or even do change law. And ultimately, it's setting up a communications and messaging system to try and maintain support from the political base that elected him. So, you know, from their perspective, they're doing a great job.
What about tax reform? What do the companies want out of this?
Well, the main thing that companies tend to want out of this is a reduction in the rates. They would also like to move towards repatriation of funds that they've had offshore for any period of time. There's also some concern, obviously, in the community now about the so-called border tax issue, where we would tax imports. That's a major concern, because that goes right to the bottom line of the consumer price that you and I pay for goods. So
quickly, let me ask you, I mean, we don't know who actually ended that phone call between President Trump and Peña Nieto, but they're now saying that the negotiations over NAFTA will happen in May. Will the White House wait that long?
Yes, because this is not an easy process to unfold and to get engaged in. The political rhetoric says very little about the specifics. Also, they've not talked much about the fact that this is a treaty with Mexico and Canada. We haven't even opened that can of worms yet. And I'll just say in closing that, you know, obviously that phone call was made on a cell phone, because you can't keep a call in Washington for long.
That's right. Well, Steve Pruitt at Watts Partners, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.